November 14th, 1942, 11 p.m. Iron bottom sound. The radar screen glows green in the darkness. 9 enemy contacts, 18,000 yards out and closing. A voice cuts through the static on the radio. "This is Ching Li. Get out of my way. I'm coming through." Below deck, in fire control, men stare at screens showing targets they cannot see with their eyes. The Japanese fleet moves confidently toward Guadalcanal, unaware they're being watched, tracked, targeted. This moment, this single ship facing impossible odds will change naval warfare forever. Yet history would barely remember her name. The Pacific War in 1942 is a nightmare. Guadalcanal, a malarial island most had never heard of, has become the line in the sand. If the U.S. Marines lose Henderson Field, the entire campaign collapses. Just 3 nights before our story begins, an American cruiser force was slaughtered in these same waters. 706 men died in a confused brawl where ships fired at each other in the dark. Navy doctrine said battleships were too valuable to risk in a close-quarters fight, but Admiral Chester Nimitz faced a choice: break every rule or watch Guadalcanal fall. He chose revolution.
He chose Willis Augustus Ching Li. Li didn't look like a warrior. Short, with thick glasses, he looked like a high school physics teacher. But he was an Olympic gold medalist marksman who understood something his peers didn't. Radar wasn't a novelty, it was the future. While other admirals dismissed it as unproven, Li drills his crew on the USS Washington for months, wiring its new radar systems directly to its guns. He created a system that had never been tested in combat. On this night, it would be tested against 14 Japanese warships, led by the battleship Kirishima. Within minutes of contact, Li's destroyer screen was obliterated. 4 ships gone. Then, Washington's sister ship, the USS South Dakota, suffered a catastrophic electrical failure. She went dark, a sitting duck. Japanese searchlights locked on, shells tearing through her superstructure. The American force was annihilated. Only Washington remained, alone, against 13 warships. But Li had seen them first. At 8,400 yards, point blank for battleship guns, he gave the order. Washington's 9 16-inch guns erupted. Radar-directed salvos slammed into Kirishima before her lookouts even saw muzzle flashes. Shell after shell, 2,700 pounds of steel and explosive, ripped through her armor.
In 7 minutes, the Japanese flagship was dead in the water, burning from stem to stern, destroyed by a single battleship they never saw coming. When dawn broke, it was the Japanese who fled. The campaign was saved. And USS Washington? Not a single combat casualty. It was one of the most decisive naval victories of the war. So what was Washington's reward? After the war, the Navy cut her up for razor blades.
Remember, if you ever need to sell your house fast, as it is condition anywhere in the U.S., either to stop foreclosure, avoid county tax auction, unwanted property, or too many repairs, go to boracina.com/DHHA or call them at 877-658-8303 for no obligation cash offer and get a relief under house burden.
Sometime there is a simple way on how to relieve or get a treatment for the problem. Naturally from an ebook, How to Get Rid of Health Issues, Quickly Without Medication. It's the step-by-step guide you can use right from your kitchen to reclaim your health naturally by someone who's been there. If you're tired of being told medication is your only option, this could change everything for you. Your body has an incredible ability to heal itself while you sleep when you give it the right ingredient. That is available at local grocery store, or you can order them online. Visit howtogetridofhealthissues.com to get your step-by-step guide today.
If battleships fought in the light, submarines fought in the abyss. And when things went wrong, death came slowly, in the dark, surrounded by crushing pressure and thinning air. Let me tell you about some of the worst ways to die underwater. October 1944. The American submarine USS Tang was a legend. Under Commander Richard O'Kane, she had sunk 22 enemy ships. On October 24th, she lined up her final shot on a Japanese transport. She fired, and the torpedo malfunctioned. The Mark 18 ran hot, then began to curve, arcing back in the water, straight toward the Tang. O'Kane screamed for an emergency turn. The sub heaved hard to port. It wasn't fast enough. Their own weapon slammed into the stern. The explosion was catastrophic. Tang sank in seconds, settling 180 feet down on the ocean floor. Inside, 87 men were trapped in a steel coffin. 9 of them tried to escape using moms and lungs, primitive rebreathers. But the freezing water, the immense pressure, the sheer blackness, it claimed most of them. When the Japanese arrived the next morning, only 9 men were left alive. The Tang's final kill was herself. Fast forward to August 12, 2000. The Russian nuclear submarine Kursk is on exercise in the Barents Sea. Suddenly, a practice torpedo explodes during loading. Seconds later, a second massive detonation rips through the hull. A blast so powerful, it was recorded by seismic stations across Europe. The Kursk plunged to the seafloor 350 feet down.
118 men were aboard. Most died instantly, but not all. In the aft compartments, 23 sailors survived. They had air, they had hope. They topped out messages, and for 3 days they waited. But Russian rescue efforts failed, one after another. President Putin refused international help for 5 days. 5 days! While his sailors suffocated. By the time foreign rescue teams were finally allowed in, it was too late. All 23 were dead. Notes were later found in their pockets, chronicling the slow end, the rising carbon dioxide, the creeping cold, the fading hope. The last entry, scrawled in the dark, read, "It seems like there are no chances. 10 to 20%. Let's hope that someone will read this." No one came in time. And then there's the K-278 Komsomolets, a Soviet marvel. It held the world record for the deepest military dive, over 3,000 feet. But on April 7, 1989, at a depth of 1,100 feet, a fire broke out. Smoke filled the boat. The reactor shut down. They managed to surface, but the fire raged on deck. As the sub began to sink, 5 men, including the captain, sealed themselves inside an escape pod, their last resort.
The pod shot to the surface as designed, but then a flaw. Explosive decompression ripped through the capsule. 2 men died instantly. Only 1 swam free. On the surface, 50 other sailors were floating in the freezing Barents Sea. Rescue took over an hour. 34 of them died of hypothermia. The submarine that could survive the world's most crushing depths couldn't survive human error. So what do these stories teach us? They show that technology always has a breaking point. A torpedo, a faulty seal, a flawed escape pod. The best engineering in the world can be defeated by a single failure at the worst possible moment. They show that pride kills. Institutional arrogance and the refusal of help costs lives. But most of all, they show that the ocean doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're American or Russian or Japanese. The depths take everyone equally. Submariners live with this truth. Every single dive is a calculated risk, and every return to the sunlit surface is a gift. Those who died in the dark are a permanent reminder that some prices are too high, even for victory.